For centuries, humans have found various places to call home. From castles to houses and teepees to huts, there have been huge changes in how we choose to live our lives. According to figures published by the Office for National Statistics, over 3 million adults in Britain suffer from loneliness. But with loneliness on the increase and the current housing crisis facing the UK, could community living be the key to finding happiness? So join me as I go on a journey to visit two of Britain's most interesting communes. First stop, we head up to Britain's oldest ecological commune called Tipi Valley, located in southwest Wales. High in the Welsh hills, Tipi Valley is home to around 80 people. This land is filled with low-impact dwellings such as teepees, yurts, and roundhouses. I am going to meet Rick, who is one of the oldest members in Tipi Valley and has lived here for 40 years. How are you?
Hi,
Nice to meet you.
My age and the fact that I've been here all the time, I'm one of the elders, I suppose. Tipi Valley is unique in quite a few ways. The very way it was created was unique and couldn't be repeated. It isn't a blueprint for other people to follow it. It felt extremely wild 40 years ago. It was the summer of 1976. The little tribe that started this community as such got together as a group of friends during the free festivals at the beginning of the 1970s. We had an awful lot of good luck come our way. We had to raise all the money for ourselves. We now own a 200-acre valley between us. And most of us came here with utterly nothing, and just made what we could and saved our pennies. And together we bought the valley in the first 20 years of its existence. And now I've been here for about 40 years, so most people who are here didn't pay for the valley. They're living off the hard work of others, but they've got a paradise to do it in. And my children were born and bred in the teepee, and they still live in the community here now, and they've got their own children. So I've got my own 3 generations here, and as soon as I came here, I knew I'd found my place for life. Not a shadow of doubt of it. I found home.
Pete has also lived here for over 30 years and holds regular meetings with Rick. Pete showed us how he lives in Tipi Valley.
The closeness of nature, instead of being separated by concrete and stone walls, where I live, I'm surrounded by nature, because our policy is to live with nature rather than try to conquer it and control it. My home costs less than £1,000, and it's more comfortable than the house I left to come here, which is probably worth about 300,000 now. It's 90% biodegradable, and we can build our homes for less than £1,000. So my answer to the housing crisis in this country is it's completely unnecessary. I'm entirely free of the mains electric because I've got solar power. There's 3 streams all meet just down there. We're never short of water here. We've always got plenty of water. Bathing pool here. If I'm very hot, 3 times a day. It's very refreshing. If it's not so hot, maybe once a day or less even. The wood is outside at the moment because I've burnt most of the winter wood, and my next winter's wood I haven't brought in yet. That's from the compost toilet there. And then once a year I clean it out. Last time I put it under the banana tree. This is my solar shower here. The sun goes on there and warms up the water. Most of my things are in the greenhouse. And this is an apricot tree. The flowers, you see. Lime tree, there's a little lime there, you see. Strawberries. And there's lettuce there. You realise that you don't actually need hardly anything to have a happy life. As long as you've got enough food and shelter and a peaceful environment in which to live, the whole consumer world becomes irrelevant.
So the very idea of owning, you see. If you've got your own private acre, it's very, very private. You own it, you sort of own it. When you own it all together, suddenly, instead of having your own private half acre you're stuck on, you've got a choice of 150 acres. You can go anywhere you like.
So initially, when we first came to Tipi Valley, we expected to see a lot more teepees all around the place, but it seems like times have changed and a lot more people are moving into huts, which says a lot about how Tipi Valley is kind of evolving with the times and no longer, living how the old people used to live, which I think is really interesting.
It wasn't until the 2000s, really, that permanent huts came in and has changed something. The place has been colonised to some extent by huts.
But it appears that times have changed, and Rick has noticed that the mentality in Tipi Valley has shifted in recent years.
We don't get that value right between does the valley own us and do we own the valley. This open community won't be an open community, and the intentions and purposes of the people who paid for it would have completely been violated.
But will Tipi Valley survive another 40 years?
Over the years, 130 children have been born in this valley. Not many of them actually live here. But if the people who are living here now don't allow fresh blood in, we don't want any more, But the trouble is, if that happens, and their sons and daughters don't stay, in not many years' time, this valley will be full of old people and no young families. And that is a danger that will overtake us if we become a closed community.
So what's it like growing up in a commune? We headed off to London to meet Dora, who grew up in a co-housing community in Hungary. Dora now has 2 children and plans to create her own co-housing project. So what was it like growing up in a co-house?
Oh, it was like a never-ending scout camp, to be honest. It was really vivid, really lively, loads of friends, very social. As a child, you always had something to do outside. It was a very exciting experience. I was born in the happiest barrack, which at the time was Hungary in 1979. There was a new sugar factory and both of my parents moved there. An estate where all the workers could have their apartments. The factory was built here and then they somehow decided to design the estate that it was far away from the village. It wasn't pretty or anything very attractive to look at. It was just 3 blocks of flats. 54 families moved in who didn't really know each other at the time. But soon after, this amazing community was formed. The factory had a canteen. Afternoons, generally, some parents would just come forward and do some kind of activities. 30 years on, someone created a Facebook group and almost 180 people. Which pretty much means 3 people from every household signed up. When I had my children, I felt I was struggling to give them the same amount of freedom I had when I was a child, and which is so much treasure. But at the moment, I have a vision and dream to set one community or co-housing up.
According to a study conducted by Purcell in 2014 called Dirt is Good, 3/4 of children in the UK spend less time outdoors than prison inmates. This is due to digital technology, parents' fears, and a lack of green spaces. Raising children in communities would mean that children would have more time for outdoor unsupervised play and engage a lot more with nature, improving children's social skills, creativity, independence, and well-being.
It's always a great afternoon when the friends are coming around and they have a play. I just wish this was every day, and it's possible, as you can see, to have this kind of community in London.
Communes don't only benefit children, but adults too. For our final stop, we head off to a spiritual commune in Dorset called Osho Leela, founded in 1996.
Hi, my name is Devaraj. People call me Dev, and I've been living here at Osho Leela for 18 years now. I'm a director these days, one of 6 directors.
At Osho Leela, they follow the teachings of Osho, who was a notorious Indian mystic in the 70s and 80s. He began his journey in India and then created his own utopia in America in the town of Oregon. A lot of communities started up in his name. They practice free love and meditation.
We don't have any money under us, or no kind of rich spiritual sugar daddies and stuff like that. So we basically generate income purely through running workshops and running festivals or gatherings and stuff like that. This is like the daily schedule, which tells you what's going on that day. This morning there was dynamic meditation with Neil, and then people make their own breakfast. It's a normal kind of day, really, and it just tells you what's going on that day.
Adam, you know they go in the linen cupboard, outside the linen cupboard. Outside? Yeah.
And just like your average house, chores have to be done.
Toilets only.
Goes there.
So what made you come here?
I was living with my family, and I was pretty much alone most of the time. So I only had like my partner, who was the main social contact that I had in my life, and a few friends. Whereas here, it's like I'm with people all the time and I'm doing things all the time, and I feel like I'm productive all the time, and that's really nice.
Anyone who really wants something in life, this can be a useful place to come. If you want more awareness, if you want to find out more who you are, you know, if that's what motivates you quite a lot, and you're interested to try this style of intense living, then, you know, it's here for people who want it. People on the Community Experience Programme who've just arrived, for the first 12 weeks you're here, you do like 3 meditations a day. Some are quite physically active. And that can kind of loosen up the sort of tension in people's minds. You know, the underlying idea is to get into the feelings, so we're working a lot with feelings here. It's not easy to live communally because suddenly you're in like a dormitory with like 10 other people or something, and a lot of issues. So you become triggered very easily by a lot of stuff that's going on.
The first couple of weeks are very difficult because humans are very tribal. We sort of have a very tight-knit group of, this is my tribe, and when someone new comes in, it takes a while to get established in a new group, and then it gets really fun. Once you get established, it's really, really fun, and then you have your first sort of, I don't know, kind of argument or some sort of romantic thing.
Everything is done together. Every morning, 1 or 2 people are put on a rota to cook lunch and dinner. Today's chef is Sachadev, a Chinese-Canadian nomad. And communal living means communal eating.
And I spent a lot of my life being what other people wanted me to be. And I never really asked that question, what do I want? And it was quite a shock to realise I had a choice. To choose what I wanted and then to act on it.
And I still sort of think, why am I here? I've never meditated in my life, you know. People that are spiritual I've always thought are a little bit, you know, weird and wacky and to be avoided. But here I am in the middle of it all and yeah, enjoying it. You know, I found myself, certainly in London, more existing, getting through each day. And I think for me, underneath all that is really just this family, this being together, being with other people. I'd lived a very isolated life, working on my own, living on my own for a lot of the time. And yeah, I think this was that sort of family that I needed. And here I feel much more alive and living my life.
With over 150 communes in Britain, membership has tripled in the last 3 years, according to the UK Co-housing Network. And with isolation in the UK reaching epidemic levels, this movement could be one of the cures for loneliness.
And I'd spent a lot of my life being what other people wanted me to be. And I never really asked that question, what do I want?
In the outside, the connections are not so true because there's places to hide and you can hide away from the other person, you can just ignore them.
People come here and they see the magic. They see this is the given world where we live.